Glad you're here. Thank you. Thanks for doing this. So the chalice lighting words will be up there, and then you can just read them. Do you want to invite people to? I can either do it for you, or you can say, "Please join me in the responsive lighting." We're reading. I will begin, and you can. Do you want me to do that part? I'll just do that part. Okay. You're gonna do the non-italicized parts, and then so do you sit up here with us, and then when you're done with that, we can scoot back down. Or if you stay up here, we'll all be up here already.
Good morning. There you go. My name is Bruce Blumberg, and my pronouns are he and him. And on behalf of the governing board, I'm pleased to welcome you to worship at First Parish in Concord, a Unitarian Universalist congregation where love lies at the center of all we strive to do and all we aspire to be. We gather to deepen spiritually, build community, and make a positive difference in the world. Welcome to all joining us both in our historic sanctuary and on Zoom. If you are visiting or new to the congregation and need assistance during the service, please chat with your online Zoom host or see one of our ushers at the rear of the sanctuary. This morning, it's our pleasure to welcome back our sanctuary, the Lincoln Ringers, under the direction of Diane Burke. We're also pleased to welcome guest organist Christine Hogan. Thank you for being here to share your gifts of music. After the service, we invite Zoom participants to remain online for a time of conversation and fellowship. All gathered in person are encouraged to stay for coffee hour in the parish hall. As your governing board representative this morning, I will be available for questions and conversation, so please say hello. Check out the announcements bulletin in your order of service for some of the latest happenings. Of special note today, the Reckoning and Repair Task Force is hosting a screening and discussion of the documentary Concord's Secret History at noon today in the Emerson Room. Welcome once again. To gather and worship is a sacred act, and your presence is a blessing. We are glad and grateful that you are here.
Thank you, Bruce. My name is Jennifer Johnson, and I'm so glad and grateful to serve as the lead minister here at First Parish in Concord. Before we deepen into our time of worship, I have a couple of additional announcements. I do want to acknowledge, and we'll hear more about this later, but today is Palm Sunday, the first Sunday of Holy Week in the Christian tradition. And at sundown on Wednesday, Passover commences in the Jewish tradition, and these are foundational traditions of Unitarian Universalism, and the observances are meaningful to many of us. And so we have a few offerings this week. There will be our Maundy Thursday service, our traditional service, with our communion silver on Thursday at 7 p.m., and a potluck Passover Seder on Friday at 6 p.m. You can find out more about this on our website and in the First Parish Weekly. And I want to also mention that we're partnering with our worship consortium partners, our UU neighbors in surrounding towns, to share in these celebrations. So everyone's invited to all of the various happenings during Holy Week and Passover, and you can find out more information again online and in the FP Weekly. I also want to remind everyone that we are deep into our annual pledge campaign. We're at about the halfway mark, and we're doing great. Our goal is 100% participation, and we're well past 2/3, but that's still a number of folks that we're waiting to hear from. So please, if you're just waiting to do it, today would be a great time to make your pledge. I believe there are pledge cards in the pews. And there are many other ways that you can do that on the phone, online. But we also want everyone who's pledged to complete one of these Stronger Together cards so we can visualize our generosity and our mutual support. These cards ask, how does First Parish make you stronger? Once it's completed, you can post it on the graphic board that's in the parish hall, because it's just a way for us to express and celebrate together our generosity and abundance and the strength that we have when we come together in this wonderful, cherished spiritual community. So with that, We will now mark the beginning of our worship, as is our tradition, by lighting the flaming chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, a beacon of love and justice in a broken world. And I'm delighted that Charlotte Burke is with us to lead us in our chalice lighting words. They were composed collectively by our senior youth leaders. Charlotte, it's a responsive reading, so please, Charlotte will start you off, and then you'll respond with the italicized text on the screens.
Be still for a moment. The snow on the branches will give way to buds. The silent winter gives way to a lively spring. Winter is a season to itself, not simply the way to renewal. Take time to look around. Pay attention to what is here and now. Be still for a moment.
My name is Reverend Jenna Crawford. I use she and her pronouns, and I'm honored to serve as your minister of congregational care here at First Parish. In Unitarian Universalist worship, we aim to bid welcome to each and every part of you on a given Sunday. We aim to come together to remember our multitudes and our multiplicities, rather than sit quietly in the false judgment that only some of us grieve or err or hurt. We aim to create a circle wide enough for all of us and the all of us that is within each of us. A liturgy theologically strong enough for the highs and lows of it all. But today, I want to issue a few special invitations as you come into this space and this sacred hour. First, I want to welcome fear into the space. Existential fear about the midterm elections or an authoritarian future, and your plain old commonplace fears to take tests, to drive, to be late, to make rent, to put yourself out there, to be misunderstood, to age, to fall, to be laid off, to fall out of love, to fail. Fear, however much you are willing to join us this morning, you are welcome here. And next, I want to welcome pain. Whether spiritual, over the future you might be leaving to kids or grandkids, or the unrelenting questions that keep you awake at night, like why do bad things happen to good people? Physical pain as your back aches, joints throb, abdomen clenches, stomach bloats, scars sting, feet burn, or your head pounds. Or emotional pain. That could be grief, loneliness, regret, humiliation, resentment, numbness, and beyond. Pain, however much you are willing to join us this morning, you are welcome here. Fear, pain, suffering. Today, we come together to explore the often overlooked wisdom that you have to offer us. And so come, let us worship together. And if those parts of you need to hear the invitation one more time, come and let us worship together. Our opening hymn this morning is located at number 1 in the gray hymn books and is called "May Nothing Evil Cross This Door." At this point, you're invited to rise in body or in spirit and join along in song.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anderson Manuel, and I am delighted to be here with you to bring in the children's message. So if there are any children who would like to join us in the front, the seats are available to you, so please join us. Good morning, guys. Let me try that again. Good morning, guys. Nice haircut. You look so handsome. All right. So I am going to need a volunteer. Come on. Come on up. See, I'm just going to pick somebody. I'm a teacher. I volunteer people all the time. All right, you're going to hold this for me. Okay? That's all you're going to do. When I say drop it, you just drop it, okay? All right. She didn't know, so if she looks a little nervous, she's going to be awesome. Good morning, friends of all ages. Today, I want to talk about something that happens to everyone, from the youngest person in the front row to the eldest person in the back. I want to talk about the ouch. What is the ouch? In life, sometimes things happen that hurt. Maybe you trip and you scrape your knee. Maybe you study really hard, but get a grade you didn't want. Or maybe someone is unkind to you on the playground. The Buddha, a very wise teacher, called this the first arrow. It's the pain we can't stop from happening. It's an ouch that just is. When that first arrow hits, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad. And it's okay to be frustrated. That is just being human. You can drop the first arrow. Oh, no, not both of them. Come on, we practice this. Come on, seriously? I said the first one. All right, we got this. But then something tricky happens. We often pick up a second arrow and hit ourselves with it. This arrow isn't the thing that happened. It's the story we tell ourselves about the thing. If the first arrow, for example, is, I didn't get to play in a basketball game, that second arrow is, I'm terrible at sports and everyone is laughing at me. If the first arrow, for example, is, my friend was mean to me, the second arrow is, nobody likes me and I'll never have friends again. The Buddha said the very first arrow is very, very, very painful. And the second arrow, it makes us suffer. He thought that while we can always dodge the first arrow, the second arrow, though, is usually optional. Now, how do we stop the second arrow? It isn't easy. It is very hard. When we are hurt, our brains get very busy making up scary stories. This is where our modern wise teacher, Mr. Rogers, helped us out. He used to say, anything that's human is mentionable, and anything that's mentionable can be more manageable. When we have a big, scary second arrow, fear, like I am dumb or I'm alone, it feels huge because it's stuck inside our heads. But when we mention it, when we tell a parent, a teacher, a minister, our dog, our wives, our husbands, the arrow starts to lose its point. Sharing our ouch with a trusted adult is like putting a Band-Aid on the first arrow so that we don't feel the need to throw the second one. In our spiritual tradition, we call this mercy. Mercy is when we decide to be kind to ourselves instead of staying angry. And that's something I'm learning at my age. When we forgive someone or even forgive ourselves, we are putting the second arrow down. Nice job. Good job. We are saying the ouch happened, but I don't have to stay in the hurt forever. So, this week, or every day, if you feel an ouch, I want you to try two things. Notice the second arrow. Are you telling yourself a scary story? Second, make it mentionable. Tell someone you trust how you feel. That's hard for us as men, isn't it, guys? Yeah, I have a hard time with that. But I'm learning. With my age, I'm also learning. So let's take a breath together. May we have the courage to mention our fears. May we have the mercy to put down our second arrows. And may we always remember that we do not have to carry our ouches alone. May it be so. Amen. No, not yet. Hold on, I'll give you the sign. This was all planned, guys. I got to tell them what's happening first, okay? No problem. So we had to practice, sorry. So this morning, we have little owls already happening. And today is Celebration Sunday where the parents are invited. And third grade and up, today we're going to conclude our Bible stories session. So third, fourth, and fifth graders, you guys are going to go with me. Yeah, we're going to go there, yeah. Tell them, that's what he said. And then coming of age, they will have a later on a service. Please join us as we sing together. Now, let us open our eyes.
Dear ones, as you take whatever breaths, whatever wiggles, whatever hums and micro movements you need in order to access a posture of open-heartedness, will you join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation? This morning, we send prayers and blessings to all within and beyond these walls who celebrate Palm Sunday today and the Christian Holy Week that follows. And in so doing, we wonder together what it would be like if we welcomed all visitors from foreign lands with the hospitality of palm branches waving and choruses of Hosanna echoing. This morning, we send prayers and blessings to all within and beyond these walls who will be honoring Passover, which begins Wednesday night, commemorating the Israelites' deliverance from slavery all those years ago. And in so doing, we call to mind those in this contemporary moment around the world seeking their own form of deliverance and liberation, be it from forced labor, corrupt regimes, personal abusers, human trafficking, life-threatening poverty, or from living under the threat of violence or war. This morning, we send prayers and blessings to all of our beautiful transgender and gender nonconforming beloveds within and beyond these walls, in anticipation of Transgender Day of Visibility this Tuesday. And as we do, we hold together, on the one hand, the fact that around the country, anti-trans rhetoric and legislation conspires to deny trans folks access to life-saving healthcare, access to safe and affirming spaces in their schools, their workplaces, their communities, and in some cases conspires to deny their very existence. And on the other hand, we hold the sacredness of trans joy, the beauty of gender euphoria, the deep wisdom we continue to glean from trans ancestors from across the ages, and the reality that against all these attacks, coalitions of cis, trans, and gender non-conforming folks will still be here, savoring trans joy and fighting for trans liberation. May these holidays this week serve as a reminder of that which is most true and most holy. May they reorient us toward the work of liberation if ever or whenever we have strayed. In humility, may we grow ever closer to God or the Spirit of all things, and of course each other, by honoring them. While this week no parish concerns were submitted in advance, I know that each of you brings your own joys and sorrows and prayers and longings into this space. And so what else, who else, where else is on your heart this week? As you feel moved, you're invited to type into the chat box or share aloud quietly from the pews the names and the locations of others that are on your heart this week. And let us now hold a moment of loving silence for all that has been shared and for those prayers that even still remain in the quiet corners of our hearts.
I'm pleased to welcome Lori Van Loon to invite our offering this morning.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to take a quick moment before I do that to alert you to something happening here 2 weeks from today on April 12th at 5. We're having a wonderful panel of immigration folks, and you can find me afterwards to learn more about that. It was not in the Sunday news. So I hope some of you last Sunday were at the UU Urban Ministry for that incredible performance of the immigrant experience that Beth Norton conducted. If you were there, you got to hear the powerful voice of Reverend Amy Whitcomb Slimmer. And before that exquisite music, she described the work of the Boston Immigration Justice Accompaniment Network and its project Beyond Bond and Legal Defense Fund, our March Share the Plate. And Amy told us how we can help, and so have Jennifer and Jenna and Regina. Here are two of those ways. First, donating. As the name says, for Bond and Beyond. Bond is like bail. This fund pays the substantial amount between $2,000 and $20,000 that allows an inmate to leave detention in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, or to return to Massachusetts when they've been taken elsewhere, as we know happens a lot. The fund also helps with other legal costs. Oh, wait a minute. I said inmate. I meant an immigrant with no criminal record. Yes, detention is like prison, except in many cases it's worse. No sentence, no end in sight, no rights. Even the living conditions are often more brutal than in prison. Little basic care or oversight. Being held in detention shatters not just the detainee, but the whole extended family and affects the whole community. Second, you can become a sponsor to a detainee. Like bond, it can mean release from detention. Becoming a sponsor is fairly easy, fairly quick. After you answer some basic questions about yourself and your financial stability, you may be paired through a Beyond Bond immigration lawyer for a specific case. You write a letter of support. That's it. Accompaniment for the person released and other kinds of assistance are provided by BJON's volunteers, and you could be one of them too. After Regina's appeal last week, 6 people came forward to express interest. That's inspiring. Eric and I were not too sure about this. Maybe like you, but we've finally decided to go forward, and we hope you will too. Contact any of us on the Immigration Justice Task Force if you have questions, and we'll make sure you get answers. Please donate generously for both us and for Beyond Bond. Thank you so much.
Blessing in Fear by Jan Richardson. Raw in every nerve, without rest, without trust, without hope, and it seems without grace. The ache in your heart, the hollow in your gut, the grind in your jaw bear witness to how long you have been without peace. You think if you could just take one deep breath, if you could still the clamor and the chaos for just one moment, you could feel again the ground beneath your feet, could find your way back to once held you on this earth. This blessing will not try to explain away your fear. It will not tell you you should not feel your fear. It will not say to you that love casts out all fear. It will not try to persuade you not to fear. This blessing knows in this world there is good cause to be afraid, so it will not appeal to your reason. Instead, it will go straight to your heart, breathe itself into every chamber, travel every frightened nerve. It may be quiet in the ways it works its soothing. Let it be enough to know it is there, bearing itself into your blood, humming its song through every vein, claiming every cell of you for courage and for peace. Amen. So before I get to that fear of which Jan Richardson speaks and in which she blesses us, let's start with joy. I know many of you were at the No Kings rallies here in Concord and in Boston, in Acton, anyone? Maynard, anywhere else? Okay, all over. How was it? How was it, friends? There is joy in coming together, isn't there? Joy in solidarity, joy when we see firsthand that we are not alone in our longing, joy when we experience our collective hope and our collective power for good. Joy when we feel our courage swell in good company. Let there be joy. Even in the midst of this madness, let there be joy. Because a person cannot live on fear alone. And there has been much to elicit our fear these days. But maybe that's always true. The pain of living is inevitable, unavoidable, inescapable, even when democracy is thriving, if it ever is. Justice is spreading and society is progressing. Even then, we mortal beings can't escape pain, the everyday kind and the traumatizing kind. From the first hunger pangs of infancy, we know pain in our personal lives and in our collective lives. That pain very often gives rise to fear. But joy is never far off. As we enter this season of Holy Week in Christianity and Passover in Judaism, we are reminded of the close and constant interchange of pain and joy. Today is Palm Sunday, the first day of Holy Week, commemorating that joyful Sunday 2,000 years ago when Jesus made his triumphal entry into Jerusalem to the crowd's joyful cries of Hail and Hosanna. But fear isn't far off either. In the span of a single week, the joy of Palm Sunday gives way to the fear of betrayal, the agony of crucifixion, and then again to the height of joy in the resurrection. Within the story of Holy Week is the Jewish observance of Passover, commemorating the biblical account of the Israelites' miraculous liberation from centuries of enslavement in Egypt. For some 3,000 years, The Jewish and Christian people have been revisiting these stories of pain and joy, suffering and redemption, passing them down through the generations. We carry these legacies in our bodies and our spirits. We emerge into a world already colored by trauma and triumph of the past, and each generation picks up that mantle. It's our work as human beings to learn how to integrate the pains and the joys that come our way so that we can carry on living, loving, leading meaningful, gratifying, and creative lives. The 13th century Sufi poet Rumi describes that work of emotional integration in his famous poem, The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Easier said than done, right? When we become aware of the depression, meanness, sorrows, shame, and malice hovering on our doorstep, we tend to worry about all the havoc they will wreak if they manage to get in. And while we're busy worrying about those unruly visitors, we often fail to notice that joy and goodness are waiting there too, right beside the crowd of sorrows. According to psychologist Rick Hansen in his book, Buddha's Brain, that's because our brains are preconditioned with what is called a negativity bias. Like Shakespeare's Hamlet, we're conditioned to fixate on the painful slings and arrows of life, and less so on life's gifts. Hansen uses the metaphor of sticks and carrots to illustrate this tendency. He writes, "Sticks are usually more powerful, since your brain is built more for avoiding than for approaching. That's because it's the negative experiences, not the positive ones, that have generally had the most impact on survival." For example, imagine our mammalian ancestors dodging dinosaurs in a worldwide Jurassic Park 70 million years ago, constantly looking over their shoulders, alert to the slightest crackle of brush, ready to free or bolt or attack depending on the situation. The quick and the dead. If they missed out on a carrot, a chance for food or mating perhaps, they usually had other opportunities later. But if they failed to duck a stick, like a predator, they'd probably be killed with no chance at any carrots in the future. The ones that lived to pass on their genes paid a lot of attention to negative experiences. And we're their descendants. As a result, according to Hansen, our brains are predisposed to vigilance and anxiety, highly sensitive to negative information, and at the ready to recall negative experiences from the past. Though we long for life's goodness, we're paradoxically hardwired to focus on the potential sources of suffering. This is not an easy formula for balanced integration of life's joys and pains. It's hard to find that place of equilibrium. How do we achieve it so that we can carry on living and loving and leading meaningful, gratifying, creative lives? I ask this question now because we all know we're living in especially anxious times. Our brains are hardwired for vigilance, and these days it feels like there are many more slings and arrows to be vigilant about, compounding the primary sources of pain that continue in our individual lives. The illnesses, losses, injuries, and disappointments at the center of our own concern. The unruly visitors are multiplying on the doorstep of our guest house. How do we accommodate them without losing ourselves in a roiling sea of worry and fear? How do we remember that joy is right there too, not on a distant horizon, but hovering on the doorstep, waiting to be let in? A simple yet profound teaching from the Buddhist tradition can help us here, the one you heard about from Anderson, the parable of the two arrows. And Anderson did such a great job explaining that wisdom that I thought, well, you've preached my sermon. But how many times do people need to hear something before it really, So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And I also have a description from Thich Nhat Hanh. He described the Buddhist teaching this way. Buddha said, we should not try to amplify our pain, exaggerate the situation. He used the image of someone who is hit by an arrow, and a few minutes later, a second arrow comes and strikes at exactly the same spot. The first arrow is inevitable and unavoidable. As long as you live in love, Hansen explains in Buddha's brain, some of those first arrows will come your way. The second arrow is another story. If you get angry at the pain of the first arrow, Thich Nhat Hanh said, if you revolt against it, if you worry too much, if you imagine you are going to die very quickly, then the pain will be multiplied by 100 times, and that is the second arrow. We shouldn't allow it to come. That is recommended by the Buddha. It is very important. Don't amplify the pain. Second arrows are the ones we throw at ourselves into the very same wound inflicted by the first arrow, causing our pain to amplify. The Buddha teaches that we can't prevent the first arrow, but we can prevent second arrows. Because our brains are hardwired to recall past experiences of pain and be vigilant about future exposure, this is very hard for human beings. We tend to perseverate when a first arrow strikes in the way that Thich Nhat Hanh described. A cascading flow of negative thoughts takes over. It's all my fault, or it's all his fault, or I should have known better. What's wrong with me? In the case of our political climate, that cascade of thoughts might sound like this. I'm so ashamed of our country. I don't know what to do. I wish I were more brave. What if we lose the election? What if the elections don't even count anymore? What if he calls for martial law? What if an ICE search happens here? The Democrats blew it last time. Is anyone going to get us out of this mess? And on and on. The thoughts are understandable, but they have the negative effect of amplifying the pain of the first arrow. Because there is a first arrow here. Perhaps it all started with a news report about the toll of the war on Iran. That is a genuine first arrow. A violent and unjust war perpetrated in our names, taking innocent lives, is a source of genuine moral and emotional pain. But our stream of negative thoughts does not make anything better and only exacerbates our own suffering. When our suffering is protracted and intensified, we become edgy, vigilant, self-protective, or angry and aggressive. The mental and emotional distress are often accompanied by a cascade of physical symptoms that intensify the suffering and increase our irritability even more. Jan Richardson describes some of them in The Blessing: the clenched jaws, tensed muscles, sleeplessness, fatigue, increased or decreased appetite, and on and on. In this state, we are less able to go out into the world in peace and do our part to heal the wounds of the world and create a better future. To integrate our experiences of pain in a positive and balanced way, we need to be on the lookout for those second arrows, the ones we can control. How do we do this? How do we stop the second arrows from coming? Like Anderson, I struggle with this all the time. I am far from an expert. I struggle every day, every hour with the second arrows I inflict on myself. But I'm trying, and I have made some progress, and this concept helps me. So I'd like to offer some thoughts on how it's been working for me. First, cultivate self-awareness by recalling this concept of the 2 arrows. When you sense signs of pain, malaise, despair, or tension, your body will signal them. Pay attention to the flow of your thoughts. Are you caught in a cascade of negative self-talk? If so, you are likely throwing second arrows at your wound. Try to catch yourself in the act and stop the flow. That's step 1, and it takes practice. The next step is this. Recall yourself to the here and now. A seminary teacher of mine encouraged students to ask a simple question whenever we felt the clench of fear. Where are my feet? Where are my feet? Meaning, what is happening around me right now? Where am I? Who am I with? What is my task? When we do this, we often discover that the threats we are perseverating over are not in the here and now. We may be dwelling on past traumas and dreading future possibilities. Strive to bring yourself to the present moment. Where are my feet? Be where your feet are. There may be an actual first arrow of pain in the present moment, but when we clear away the second arrows, we are better equipped to tend to that original source of pain, lovingly, mercifully. That's part 2. After we clear away the second arrows, we can tend to the wound inflicted by the first arrow. We do this first and foremost by acknowledging the pain in the first place and offering what Anderson called mercy and I'm calling self-compassion. I am wounded, yes, and I am strong and capable. I can begin healing simply by inhaling a life-giving breath of peace. I have resources within me and around me. I have love for myself, and I can turn to others who will give me love and care. This blessing will go straight for your heart. Breathe itself into every chamber. Travel every frightened nerve, claiming every cell of you for courage and for peace. You can give yourself that blessing. When we bless ourselves with self-compassion, we prevent the bombardment of second arrows. We make room in our guest house for that first arrow that arrived, unbidden, at our doorstep. Sometimes we can't keep the pain outside these walls. Having invited in the pain, we can now perceive the other guests waiting in the very place where our feet are, unbidden too, ready to help and to heal, beauty and joy, courage and peace, hope and love. They are right there too. They are right here too, where our feet are right now. Thus healed and strengthened, we are ready to take up our task of living and loving and leading lives that serve the beloved community our hearts know is possible. May we make it so. Delight at our doorstep, delight within our walls. Where are your feet, my friend? Look around. Listen. What guests have arrived at the threshold of your soul? What beauty, what delight, what friends, what love. Tune your whole heart and all of your senses and bid them welcome. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, Do You Hear? Let us give and receive the benediction that is the tradition of this congregation. Go out into the world in peace, have courage, hold on to what is good, return to no person evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, honor all beings. Our time of worship has come to a close. Please be seated for the postlude